Well, hey, everybody, welcome to another episode of Sy Huffer and Friends. This is a podcast designed to help you flourish at life and relationships. I'm your host, Sy Huffer, lead pastor at the Gathering Christian Church here in Naples, Florida. And the reason why it's called Sy Huffer and Friends is because I believe I have the best friends in the whole world, and that they make me flourish at life and relationships, and that me sharing them with you will help you flourish as well. So you can always follow along on YouTube, on Apple or Spotify, subscribe, all that kind of stuff. Once a month, we do take a break from interviewing different people about different topics, and we just share a story of someone in our church who's had their life change, who what we call is for the one stories. We believe Luke 15, Jesus tells 3 stories about the Father that reflects his heart for those that are not part of his family. So it's the shepherd that goes find the lost sheep, the woman looking for the lost coin, and then the father welcoming back the lost sons. And so today I'm super excited that I get to introduce and hang out with my buddy, Paul Schiller. Paul, say hey and tell everyone a little bit about yourself and what you do.
Hello, I'm Paul Schiller. I have the very fortunate pleasure to call Sy my friend as well. I live in Naples, Florida. I'm from Minnesota. Moved down here 6 years ago almost now, and I sell real estate full time, and I also do a couple other little things to keep me busy. So.
Yeah.
I have 3 children. Who do plenty of keeping me busy as well.
Harry, and go ahead and tell them who your kids are.
Harrison, Wiley, and Ivy. Yeah. 14, 9, and 7.
They have plenty of things that's going on. What are all the sports and things that they're involved in right now?
Right now, we're just doing flag football, but we do baseball usually in the spring and fall for both boys, and then Ivy does cheer as well. So,
yeah, a lot of things.
A lot of running. Yeah.
I'm always asking this question because I have my own narrative and story about how I become friends with people, but I like hearing from my friends, their story and their perspective. So, we met a couple of years ago. So share a little bit from your perspective, our friend's story. How did we meet and how we become friends and get to where we're at today?
Yeah. Gosh, I don't remember the first time I saw you or met you, I don't think, in the community, but it was somewhere in the community, maybe at an event or, at a friend's, gathering or something like that. But I just remember drawing to you and Monica and eventually playing a lot of pickleball together. And, I don't even know which point it was where I knew you guys were planting a church here, but it was the instant connection, I think. And, it's hard not to like a guy like you and a gal like Monica, and it just grew organically, I guess.
Yeah, 100%. I think pickleball was big for me, just like us playing a lot of pickleball in the early years. I'm glad we're getting back into it.
Yeah, tomorrow.
Tomorrow, yeah. So, but I also remember going to Bailey's birthday on the party bus.
Yeah,
and that was a cool moment. Just dancing to music and laughing. And I remember you saying, I'll never forget, if we dance like this, I'm definitely going to your church.
That's funny. I had forgot about that, but I do remember that too. That's hilarious.
That's so funny. So tell me a little bit about your faith background. How did you grow up? Did you go to church? What's that part of your story?
Yeah, very interesting. I think my sister and I both went to Catholic school, kindergarten through 7th grade and or 6th grade, and we were very much involved in the Catholic Church. My grandmother had 7 children, so two of which were biological, 5 were adopted. My dad was one of the biological children. They grew up directly across the front door. We have a big Catholic church in my hometown. And she was the house across the street. So she always, and I don't know if it was somewhat a joke or how real it was, but, the church had brought her the other 5 children, one by one, over time. And so out of the 7 of my grandmother's children, she had 26 grandchildren, and all 7 kids lived in that town still, until I was out of high school, at least. So we would go to church every Sunday, and we would go to grandma's after church every Sunday. She had a pool table in the basement. The house was full of kids. It was very, very, it was very fun as a child. So we attended the Catholic school as well. That was right there attached to that church. And, I was an altar boy. and did the church every Sunday until we graduated high school. And I don't know how far you want me to go in this segment with where
Yeah.
it went from there, but yeah. So after after high school, I went to college. I kind of stopped going to church. Catholic Church is very much different than the church we're going to today, in the
Yep.
sense that as a child at least, it wasn't fun. You didn't look forward to. You didn't. It was just so different, as most people know. So, I still prayed every morning and every night at this point, though, religiously, and it was up until I met my children's mother, then I kind of really veered away from the church in a roundabout way, uh, until just about a year and a half ago.
I know one time we were playing golf about part of your story, and it was you guys watched a film together. Can you
Yeah,
want to talk a little bit about that?
yeah, yeah. The film was called Religulous. You know, I don't know how clean this podcast wants to be, but Ashley used to give me crap back in the day and call me, "Oh, you're such a little Catholic boy, isn't that cute? You're just a little Catholic boy," And I was like, I thought I was pretty edgy at the time. But anyways, she had spent a lot of time. We knew each other in high school, and we hadn't seen each other in like 6 years probably. But in that time, she was traveling the world, and I was in my one little one horse town that I grew up in still. And she said she studied religion. She'd been all over the place, and so I don't know the intentions, but she said, you got to watch this show. And so I watched the show, and it sent me for a tailspin for probably 2 years, I would say. I felt like I'd been lied to the whole time. It was a really weird feeling.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. And so that almost like I don't know if this makes sense or not, but like you had kind of drifted away, living a certain lifestyle, not necessarily like you said, you're a little edgy, not a clean altar boy.
Right, right. Because long ways from an altar boy by this point. Yeah.
Yeah. But almost watching the film, I remember you talking about this, almost like gave you like a worldview that justified and gave you permission to go in that tailspin and to lean away from faith. Is that accurate?
Right. Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
this was like 18 years ago now, so I don't remember the film, front to back, but I do remember a lot of the things that it said. In at the time, I felt like that was, some of those things were things that the Catholic Church hid from us or lied about, or
Mm-hmm.
whatever it was. It made me upset. Um, then I would, go to pray at night, and I would feel these contradictions that I didn't know what to do with. And long story short, I eventually just stopped praying altogether. And I had married her, and church was never a conversation, but it became a conversation when we started having children, and our grandparents would say stuff to us, you
Mm-hmm.
should get your kids baptized, or you should come to church, or these things. And it didn't help that my parents at the time didn't, they also weren't going to church anymore. So, but my grandparents especially would always bring it up. And so, Ashley and I had decided that we were going to let our kids decide, because both of us had been, you could say, we were just put into Catholic Church. You're baptized
Mm-hmm.
as a baby. It's not something you chose to do. So we always wanted to give our kids the choice. And so that was what we did. And now here we are today. I mean, obviously a lot of
Yeah.
things have happened since then. So.
Yeah, absolutely. So, what I love, what I think is fascinating about your story is the relationship between like your head and your heart. Like the
Mhm.
way you live and like what you think and what you believe.
Yeah.
And there's this moment that Jesus has in the Gospels with this Samaritan woman, and she's been married 5 times. The man she's living with is not her husband. She's ostracized by the community, and she has like legitimate like questions like up here in her head about
Mhm.
everything. But when Jesus meets her, he doesn't start arguing with her about the questions. He
Right.
just starts like he just engages her heart. He engages her as a person. And then those questions are dealt with at some point in the conversation. That's
Yeah.
not where he begins. And I feel like that's been a lot of your journey is like, you know, when we first met a couple of years ago, it wasn't like, hey, let's argue about religiosity or religious or whatever, you know,
Yeah. Yeah.
it
Yeah. Yeah.
was,
No, it very much wasn't. I was actually shocked because, for me, it was weird to, tell you that because I didn't know how you would react or
sure.
what. But I was like, huh, yeah. I mean, he's like, oh, I remember exactly what you said. You said, oh, I'm going to have to check that out, And I thought
Yeah.
that was so cool, because a lot of people this day and age, especially, just want to argue about things. And,
Yeah.
so that was cool.
That's cool. Well, hey, you know, today you're actively involved in our church. We'll get more into that a little bit later. You know, I think you're one of my, I love what God's doing in your life. I see
Yeah.
him absolutely moving in your life in some incredible ways. But talk to us a little bit about like before you got involved in church and said yes to the dream team and serving and playing the cajon every Sunday barefoot, which is still my favorite thing. It's awesome.
That's
But
my favorite thing, too.
how is God preparing you to be open to coming to church?
How was he?
Yeah, like before you said yes, there's, you know, life circumstances, you know, heart things going on. Like what was God doing to prepare you for that? Yeah, I want to check this out.
Yeah. So, thinking back on that, I remember towards the end of my marriage, when I would have when the kids would be misbehaving or things like that, whatever they were doing. If I would get upset, I started, and I don't know why, or nor do I know that this has anything to do with it, but I would get upset and say that our kids need church to Ashley and in front of my kids. You guys need church. That would because we tried everything. I mean, all kids misbehave from time to time, and
Sure.
and we understand that, but that always resonated. I always remember that. Like, sure that the Catholic Church wasn't perfect. The things, you can go on, but what I do know is that the kids that I grew up with in that church were respectful. They
Mm-hmm.
had manners. They respected their elders. They said please and thank you, these type of things. And
Mm-hmm.
so I started to say that. And then bless her heart, we're still great friends and whatever. But we ended up going other directions. And at that time was you guys were getting ready to start the church, 5 or 6 months later, and we were playing a lot of pickleball, and we started to hang around the same groups. And I heard, I don't remember if it was Taylor and Bailey or if it was Nick and Lindsay, but I think it was Nick and Lindsay, and they were doing something, and I had asked what it was about, and they said, "Oh, well, we're part of the Dream Team." And I even remember like feeling like my feelings were a little bit hurt because I was like, "What's that?" I was like, "Well, how did you make the Dream Team and I didn't make it?" You know what I mean? Because I had no
Yeah.
clue what it meant.
Yeah.
I hadn't inquired with you guys about what's going on or when it's starting because I at that point still, in my head I wasn't thinking I can't wait to go to church yet.
Sure. Yeah.
Um, and so the more I learned about that and understood what was going on in the full extent, and I started asking you questions, how does this work, and how do you pick here, and I was super super curious, but then I was also still a little scared,
Yeah.
until it happened, and I do remember when I finally said, okay, yes, I'll come. Do you want to know when that was?
Yeah. Yeah. Tell me.
Okay, okay. So I don't remember where it was or how, but I remember Phil, the worship director. Remember if he texted me or we were in person or where we were, but he had asked me that if he got a cajon, that if I would come and play in the church band.
Yeah.
And I was like, yes, you know.
Yeah.
I don't, not that I wouldn't have come otherwise, but I
Yeah.
knew I kind of felt like, holy crap, this is because I love to do that. I'll sit in the
Yeah.
backyard and play this thing for hours, and
Yeah.
never played in a real band or anything. But I remember that being like, geez, there's a sign. I need to go. I want to go check this out, and it's what I look forward to the most every week.
I love it. I love that because what's so cool about what Jesus does is like he puts in us these gifts that we have, right? These passions. And if they're not cultivated for spiritual purposes, they're still there, right? You're
Right.
still good at it. You still have a passion for it. But it
Yeah.
becomes a spiritual gift when it's directed towards accomplishing its intended purposes. And what's so cool about it is like you had a connection with it. It does something for your soul. And
Yeah.
ultimately it's worship. Like you're worshiping
Yeah.
something always, right? And
Right.
now that you are, a follower of Jesus, what you get to do is you get to use that gift and passion that God has given you for its intended
Mhm.
purpose to lead others to worship Him.
Right.
And it's just so beautiful. I just
Oh, man.
love that.
Yeah, it's can't explain it. Um, I'll say, like, I also didn't know that, the church I grew up in had a lot different music. I
Yeah.
was
Yeah.
unaware. I hadn't explored Christian music, and now I have a giant playlist full of like
Yeah.
amazing music that I had no clue existed. So, and as you know, I mean, everywhere I go, I have a jam box with me. I've been listening to music everywhere. So, uh, that's been an awesome addition to my life too, is the music.
Hmm. Yeah. We don't yet have reggae sets for you.
Hey, we're talking about it though.
We're
Okay.
talking about it, working on it. So,
Yeah.
we talk at our church a lot about like the made for more life. And that
Mhm.
comes from John 10:10, when Jesus says, I have come that you may have life and have it to the full. And that full life, that abundant life that he's talking about, we say that's made for more, that you are made for more than the life you're striving or settling for. And so we kind of use it as just kind of this offhand phrase, this kind of tagline for like what that full life is. And we believe that's why we exist, to help guide people to that. So how has Jesus begin to do that in you? Like, how's your life different and better because of him?
Oh man. Yeah, I mean, there's so many things, but um, it's funny because in the Made for More o- raise, um, sorry, I'm getting choked up. We do a song at church called "Made for More," and we were doing them on Sunday, and I had the most unbelievable uh, feeling come over me, like you can't explain. Um, anyways, one of our friends, Kevin, sits in the front row, and he saw it happen to me. Uh, I just broke down because of the lyrics, and it was the first Sunday in November of 2025, and we're gonna have to edit this part out. But and I can barely talk. But anyways, there's lyrics in there that say, "Why would I lay in a bed of shame when a fountain of grace is running my way?" And that was the day I knew I had to stop drinking. So, uh, I had been, I had been like hiding my feelings, or it's not like I wasn't getting drunk, but I was drinking a few beers every day, and it wasn't good for my children to be around. It wasn't good for Julie, my girlfriend. She didn't like that, and I knew that, but I tried to justify it. But the long story short, that was that day, because I had been going to church for a year, and loving every minute of it, and becoming a child of God again, and slowly becoming more who I wanted to be. But that was the big day right there. And you can't explain. Well, you can't explain what it was like.
Yeah.
And so that was one thing. Now, that really changed me, because I felt the Holy Spirit moving through me. It was the most unbelievable feeling. So, that's helped a lot, and that's triggered so many other things. I'm reading the Bible every day. Um, I'm waking up an extra hour early so I can read the Bible every day, because I'm looking forward to it, not because I feel I have to. Uh, Attending groups, home group and men's group, and going to church an extra 45 minutes early. I used to show up at 8:30 when practice started, and Phil would have everything set up for me, but now I'm helping set up my own stuff, and I've lost 18 pounds, and my life is now centered around that, and around Jesus. Waking up and starting my day with the Bible has done wonders. My children see it, um, and love it.
Mm, that's beautiful. And dude, it's okay. Like it's a life changing thing. and to be emotional about it that's totally appropriate, and I've seen it.
Right.
I see it in you.
That's the other cool part is, people, I don't broadcast, I certainly tell people about church that are asking and things like that. But so many people have told me like they can, without me asking, or bringing it up, that, I can tell, I can see the changes, including my mom, uh,
Mm.
uh, and my kid's mom, so it's been really cool.
That's beautiful. One of the highlights of my year was getting to baptize you.
Oh, yeah.
You decided to say yes to baptism. To tell us a little bit about that.
Oh, yeah. I was really excited to do it. It's something I've been thinking about. Do you remember the date that was? Because I can't recall the exact date. Do you remember?
Yeah, I
when
can
we
look
did
it up real fast. It was in December. Nice
It
and
was in
cold,
December. It
cold
was
in
in
the Gulf.
December. I knew, and that's what I thought. It was after that first Sunday in November, and
December 14th.
yeah, that's right. So it was a culmination of things, and I had been thinking about it. And after we did our 1 year, uh, church service, the 1 year celebration when everyone got baptized. I mean, I was blubbering like a baby up there watching that happen, and the people that were doing it, that meant, something to me. That was insanely beautiful that day. But I knew after the first Sunday in November, something I just knew that revelation I had, or whatever you want to call it, was like nothing I've ever experienced. And I remember when you asked me, like, "Hey, we're doing a baptism on December 14th. Do you want to be part of it?" I knew, like, that was another sign,
Mm-hmm.
So I was very excited. It's a day I'll never forget.
Every time I do a baptism, the person I'm baptizing doesn't get to hear this, but I do it for me. So,
Yeah,
but I don't know if you knew this or not, but as I put the person in the water, which symbolizes death, right? I say over them, dead to sin,
yeah,
right? It's dead to that old life. And then when I pull them out of the water, I say just alive in Christ. And so that is the symbol of the resurrection, that you have a new life, a new creation in him.
yeah,
And I mean, dude, it's been unreal, 2.5 years knowing you, to see the transformation of God in your life,
yeah,
and none of us are perfect. Like, we're all still going to struggle and still have issues and still have
yeah,
things, but that's then the journey. That's the journey of becoming alive
yeah.
in Jesus. So it was a beautiful day. I
Yeah, I
want you to
mean,
go
oh,
ahead.
go ahead. I
No,
was
no.
going to say, I mean, of course, I still have, we all have our problems in this, but one of the things I notice most is that I've become much more patient
Mm,
with the issues and the problems in life, because I just know everything's going to be okay
yeah.
because of
Amen.
my newfound relationship with God.
Yeah. That's beautiful. Um, tell the story. You don't have to go into all the details, okay? But so we were, but I think this is really cool because, like you said, we still have problems. We still struggle with things. So yes, you're alive in Christ, but you still make mistakes. We still sin.
Yeah,
It's part of that journey. We were talking the other day, and you mentioned something about this bad situation that happened where you had to go and have this work confrontation with somebody else, and you got frustrated with them, and had words, and and
uh,
so you made some mistakes, and
yeah,
you behaved in a way, you know what I'm talking
yeah,
about now.
yeah. I do now. Yeah, yeah,
Okay, you
yeah,
behaved in a way that you would probably reflect more your life before Jesus, correct?
yeah, yeah.
And then but then after all of that happened, you said you had some feelings and some thoughts.
Yeah.
Can you share that?
Yeah, so I'm trying to figure out how to say this without going into the details, like, and
Yeah.
now I know what you're talking about. So it was a situation with, you could say a coworker, and it'd been something that was going on for a long time, and I had kept my mouth shut until, like, I didn't, and it got me in kind of a sticky situation with our superiors, and and we had to go sit in a meeting. And after this, I talked to the gentleman, and I said some things I shouldn't have said. Probably, I was real combative, and it had been stuff that was bottled up for 8 months to a year now. And I left after getting the last word, and that's just not how I want to do things. But I had come home, and I was sitting with Julie and talking to Julie about it, and I was just in my head thinking, I don't, because of the things that have transpired, I don't know why, but I actually feel bad. I feel bad about what I said. I feel bad for this individual. And I couldn't figure out why I felt bad, because, on paper, it would be the other way around. But I did. I felt bad, and I said a prayer, and asked God to, for a variety of things, I guess. And that would have never happened 2 years ago.
Yeah. I remember you even saying this phrase, I felt Jesus in me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, I felt Jesus in me,
Working
almost
through me. Yeah.
convicting me
Mm-hmm.
and showing me like, hey, there's a different way. And like you said, like that bad feeling wouldn't have happened. And that conviction is the Holy Spirit. That's like, now that the Holy Spirit's in you after your baptism now, like
Mm-hmm.
when we do mess up,
Right.
there's like, oh crap. Like that conviction piece is part of God showing you like, hey, okay, yep, that happened, but here's grace. Now let's learn how to change,
Right. Yeah. There's better ways. And, on a much lighter note, it's, I think I mentioned this the other night at home group too, but, the road rage thing that everyone brings up, in our circle and stuff, I'll find myself not, where I otherwise would, curse at somebody going slow in the left lane, or, what the, even those little things like that, I stop and I think about it a lot more than I ever would have. So again, I'm not perfect. You might still see me yelling in my car window, but it's, I'm probably singing.
Celebrate the progress, right?
Yeah.
Celebrate the progress.
So,
also, what I love too is this shift from drinking to mountain water.
oh yeah. 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 That was a big help. I attribute that to a friend of mine, Dan. Not that, that was the reason, but I tried that. It was just something with flavor, and again, it's just such a weird thing. I mean, I'm an addictive person the way it is. I always have been. My family, it's a long line of history in my family, and I just know how to turn it off, I think. But now that you mention it, I kind of want some mountain water. It's been a few days. But
I want some. I was hinting.
yeah. Okay, I'll bring some tomorrow night.
No, I'm joking.
But yeah, it's been a real blessing. And it's not like I'm never going to have a beer again or a glass of bourbon with you or what have you.
Yeah.
It's just that I put down that vice and picked up the Bible instead. And I mean, I just am one of those people that I have to have something. It doesn't need to be alcohol or whatever it may be, but it's I got to keep myself busy, and and then it's been a good trade-off for the tea and the Bible. Take it all day.
I love it. I laid down advice and picked up the Bible. That's beautiful, man.
Yeah, and
awesome.
I attribute all that to you. The easiest because I'm still learning how to pray again, and which is exciting. But I remember asking you, like, or we talked about it, and you said the best way you can talk to God is Bible reading, and I never thought of that, and so it's true. And and I just got my new Bible yesterday. I'm super excited about it.
That's awesome. Yeah, we're doing a Bible study, and we're supposed to read like a couple chapters every couple weeks, and you've been done for how long? You read the whole thing?
About a week ago. So my other book is being delivered today.
Hey, let's go.
Yeah.
You'll love it. How would you encourage other people to join Jesus' mission for the one?
I would say, for the people that are closest to me but furthest from God, is the one is I would say, if there's anything, because it can be scary. I mean, it was even nerve-wracking for me, even though I knew you as a dear friend already. You just gotta let go. You gotta go. see what it's all about. You got to try it. You got to, I mean, for me, naturally, it became my community now, because just like you, I'm a huge advocate of needing a good group of friends, and I always have been that way and always will be that way. But this whole newfound, part of that I take in the church and serve at the church and hang out. I mean, I've become that's become my circle of people, and you couldn't ask for a better group of friends. I mean, the people that at least do their best to live like Jesus did are the people that are always going to be there to help you out. And that alone, I think, is a pretty cool thing to tell people, like, hey, just come check it out. And I know a couple people right now that one of them was a dear friend of mine who's going through divorce, and I said, hey man, I know you're not, you don't go to church, or I'm not even sure if you're a believer, but I know you have mentioned to me that you can see the difference that it's made in me. So I mean, why don't you come check it out? You don't have to worry about fitting in. You'll fit right in, and it's in the beginning, it was uncomfortable for me to say stuff like that to people, but now I love it because I know that they can see the changes that it's made for me.
Absolutely. Yeah. And I just like talk to the people who have a one that was like you, right? Like someone that they know that is close to them but far from God. And you being that, not that long ago, like how important is it, that like for that person who's the one who's lost, who's hurting, how important is it for the people who have Jesus to share it?
Oh, it's extremely important. I mean, and I think it's very important, especially if you've felt an impact at all. I think that's our duty now. To at least I can only speak for me, but the changes, whether it's inside or out, that I have felt from becoming involved in the church are so monumental in my personal life. Like, who would I be to not share that?
That's right. That's exactly
Yeah.
right. If you're going to talk to people about peptides, you got to talk to them about Jesus, right?
Yeah. Exactly. It's a two-part thing.
It's a two-part thing. Yeah. Part one, part two.
Yeah.
Well, dude.
Absolutely. I'm way more into Jesus than peptides.
That's right. Thank you so much for sharing your story.
I've been waiting for you to ask.
Well, man, that means it's so funny when you share, like, I was a little butthurt. I hadn't been asked about Dream Team. On our side of it, you're like, is this like how this person view me as a friend? If I ask him, like, is he interested or not? Is he there or not? To be like, oh, here's the pastor pushing, And so it's so funny because when I ask you, you're like, dude, yes, I've been waiting, same thing. I've been waiting for you to ask me to share my story, So
I'm here to share it, sing it from the mountaintops, wherever you want me to share it. So, and I intend on doing that.
Thank you, my friend. Well, everybody, hey, thank you everybody for tuning in to this episode of Sy Huffer and Friends. You can follow along everything that we do on Apple, Spotify, or YouTube. And as always, remember that you were made for more, so don't settle for anything less. Have a great day.